So I'm going to try and go over what I think about the markets in the month of April in a few minutes. Now, obviously, it's been quite a volatile month with Liberation Day. As I'm speaking now, the 30th of April, markets have almost rebounded to the post-Liberation Day levels. What we have seen off the back of this, though, is the IMF cut rates to 1.5%. We've also seen large asset managers such as Goldman Sachs cut their exposure to US equities. Bridgewater, the largest hedge fund, also looking to diversify away from US dollar assets. And also emerging market investors or hedge funds holding up to 95% cash. Now, this is all on the terms of the volatility and the Trump tariffs. How do I see this playing out? Well, again, it's still an open-ended book, but I'm still bullish US exceptionalism in the long term. I still think there's innovation going towards the US. I think it could have a profound effect, and it does underlie the kind of resilience of the US companies, but ultimately I think they'll prevail. I think Europe still has a long way to go. As we spoke last year about the Mario Draghi report, it still needs innovation. Could this be the moment that spurs innovation? Maybe, but it's still a lot to be seen, whilst I think the US is a proven entity. I think when or if the political government situation does stable down in the US, I think investors will come back, as we've seen, into US assets. They'll come back to the US treasuries and they'll look for the US dollar because there is just not a comparison there in the kind of right now. The euro doesn't compare, the Chinese yuan doesn't compare, the stocks aren't big enough, the companies aren't anywhere near the size of the US, and they're not innovative enough. So therefore I'm still long the US. I think it may be a volatile ride in the short term to medium term. You still have an unknown entity. In this, how I'm playing this is look at things like structured notes on the S&P 500 that give you kind of options, that give you income in terms of volatility. Look to diversify into maybe bonds. A lot of investors are looking at that, or look to go kind of into safe haven assets, the Swiss franc, or even things that I'm not too bullish about, but gold in terms of the short to medium terms, in terms of volatility.